Hello and welcome to yet another interesting time in Information Technology class. My name is Blaze Ella, and in today's lesson, we will be looking at the topic Internet Environment under the theme Basic Knowledge of Information Technology. When you hear the term Internet Environment, what comes to your mind? We will find out as we proceed in this lesson. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to do a few things. First, you should be able to name icons in the internet environment. Secondly, you should be able to describe how to send and receive email. Thirdly, you should be able to describe how to chat on the internet. And finally, you should be able to describe how to link up with educational network groups. Let's delve into the lesson. When you take a look around your environment, I'm sure you will find different people operating different types of digital devices, like their phones, their laptops, their tablets. I'm sure you also operate some of these devices, and you will agree with me that you can carry out so many important tasks with them. But guess what? When these devices are connected to the internet, that is, when you go online, you can carry out so many other tasks. And these tasks are carried out in an environment generally referred to as the internet environment. The internet environment refers to a working environment of internet-enabled services or applications. In this lesson, we will look at three basic internet applications, and they are the web, email, and networking. Each of these three internet applications have their own working environments. So in this lesson, we're going to go through each of these applications, see what the environment looks like, and what can be done in these environments. We'll begin with the web. The web is one of the applications of the internet. And by web, I mean the World Wide Web, WWW. On the web, you will find lots of resources in different formats. You'll find them as visuals, that's text and images. You'll find audio files. You will also find audio visuals, that's videos. All of these resources can be collected from the web. As a user, you can obtain this information by viewing them. You can also copy them and download them to your own device. Not just collecting information on the web, you can also add to the content on the web. You can add to the resources on the web through the process of uploading. Therefore, you can upload content as well to the web so that others can have access to them. Generally, the process of navigating the web using the web is called browsing or surfing. And the web can be accessed using web browsers. Web browsers are application software that are used to access and put up information on the web. When you have access to the web, you can carry out so many activities. You can conduct research, you can shop, you can share information, and so on. There are different examples of web browsers. Some of them are Internet Explorer, SeaMonkey, UC Browser, Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, Opera Mini, and so on. For the next part of this lesson, we're going to open up one of these web browsers so we can see what a web browser looks like and the different features that help us access and navigate the web. So let's open up Google Chrome. This is what the Google Chrome homepage looks like. As you can see, there are several features. Over here, there's a tab button that helps you open several tabs. This means that you can open different websites using a particular web browser. You have a back button and forward button. You have the address bar here where you can type in specific web addresses. Over here, we have a search window where you can type in keywords and phrases to make specific searches. And then if you click on this button here, you'll see more features Simply click on them, explore what they do, and then you have an idea of what each feature on this window does. In this case, I've typed in a search term, African food, and over here I have so many results. If you want images, simply click on images and it will filter this search and give you just images. Same with maps, for instance, restaurants where you can get such foods, videos, news, and so much more. When you use the tools, you can further decide on the size of images you want to be returned as your search result. And with these settings, you have several other features. And so with these different features of a web browser, you can see that it's quite easy to navigate and enjoy the resources on the web. Having looked at the web, let's move on to the next internet application, which is email. The term email stands for electronic mail. It's the means through which we communicate with other people using electronic devices. The basic email environment supports text. However, you can send other multimedia files as attachments. There are certain companies that provide email services, and they are called email service providers. Some examples of email services are Gmail, Yahoo Mail, Yandex Mail, AOL Mail, Zoho Mail, Microsoft Outlook, iCloud Mail, Proton Mail, and so many others. It is important to note that before a person can use an email service, that person must open an account with that email service. When you open an account, you will get an email address. The email address functions just the way you have your house address. It's like a reference point for sending and receiving emails. And so an email address is a unique identifier for an email account. Here's the format for email addresses. You have your username, you have the @sign, very important, you have the mail server, and then the domain. Let's take an instance. What's your name? Mine is Ella. So my username could be Ella. You can fill in your name at this point. So Ella is the username. Next is what? The @sign. The mail server. Those are the mail services I've mentioned earlier. For instance, Gmail. So let's use Gmail. Gmail. Dot the domain. There are different types of domain. One of the popular one is the commercial domain, which is com. So we have dots. The dot is necessary. Com. So you can see, using this format, a possible email can be ella@gmail.com. All elements are fully represented. So Ella is the username, followed by the @sign, and then the mail server, which is Gmail, and then the domain.com. So that's a complete email address. At this point, let's proceed by creating an email account so we can obtain an email address. An email account can be created by signing up to an email service, for instance, Gmail. This can be achieved through a web browser or by downloading the app from an app store and installing the application on your device. This illustration will be done using Gmail. So, from a web browser, simply enter the address of the email service into the address bar. In this case, it is www.gmail.com, or type a search term such as Gmail sign up. Several results will be returned. Simply look for the website that has Google sign up, like the first one here. Then click on it. Here we are. You will be required to fill in some personal details like your first name and your last name. Then type in your desired username and a password
which will be entered twice for confirmation. You can use this button to make the password visible and vice versa. Then click on Next. In this instance, I've filled in Jane as my first name and D as my last name, and I've written Jane as my desired username. But you see, I'm told that janejane@gmail.com is already taken and that I should try another. So what this email service does is to suggest usernames from which you can choose. But be mindful not to choose a username with so many numbers, because you need a simple username and one that is easy to remember. So you just keep trying new usernames till you get the desired one. And then for the password, in this case, I have written realistic at 23. So it is advisable to use a combination of alphabets, numbers, and symbols for a strong password. And it must be something you can easily remember, because you will be needing it and the username each time you want to log into your email account. And so clicking on Next takes us to the next page. Here, some more personal information are required. Your phone number is optional. You are also required to provide a recovery email, which will help you recover your accounts if any issue arises later on. And then you are to provide your date of birth and gender. And then click on Next. This brings up the privacy and policy page, which you must agree to before you can proceed. Kindly read through to know what you are agreeing to, and then click on I agree. And this is it. The Gmail account has been successfully created. Because Google has several services, you need to click on this icon and then on Gmail to access your Gmail account. And so, this is the Gmail account that was just created.
And so, we've successfully created an email account. Now remember, because the email is janejane@gmail.com, that's why we have this J here. The initial is used to indicate the user account. So there are so many different features on the email platform. We have this button here which helps us compose an email. We have the inbox where mails that you receive come into. We also have the sent where messages that you send out are displayed. We have drafts where messages that have not been sent but have been composed are saved. We also have several other features. You can click on this to find out what's there. This is a search bar where you can easily search for mails. This can come in very handy when you have so many emails to sort through. Just look around the environment, click on the different buttons to see what they do, so that you have a good time enjoying the different benefits. Having successfully created an email account, let's proceed with this lesson by sending an email.
To send an email, first things first, you need to open your Gmail account. It may require you to log in using your username and password. And there it is. Here's the Gmail account. Next, locate the Compose button. Some apps just have the plus button. Once you locate it and click on it, this window comes up. Where you have to, you are required to enter the email address of the recipient of the mail. You can send the same email to different people by using the CC, which stands for carbon copy. Every person added using carbon copy will see the email address of every other person that gets the email. But if you don't want the people to see others that got the same email, use the BCC, which stands for blind carbon copy. So you see the CC and BCC are used to add more recipients to the mailing list for a particular email. Where you have subjects, you are required to enter a short heading for the email that captures what the email is about. In this other space, you can type the body of the email. And then to attach files, simply click on this button for attachments. It is important that you read through the content of the email to confirm it is correct before clicking on send. Once you click on send, your email goes. And to confirm that it has really gone, you can check your sent box. Quite simple, right?
With that, I'm sure you now see that sending an email is quite easy. So what happens when you receive an email? In order to receive an email and also send an email, your internet connection must be on because this is an internet-enabled service. So when you receive an email, what happens? It goes to your inbox. So over here, we have a new email from Elalopex G saying breakfast. Remember, from when we were sending an email, we said it's important to add a subject. In this case, the subject is breakfast. So it gives you an idea of what the content will be about. So see the importance of a subject in email, right? And then this is the main content of the email. Over here, we can see a file. That's because the sender added an attachment. So you can see the different elements that can be used in sending an email. When you open up the file, you can see the real content, the full content. This is the body, and then this is the attachments. So far, we have looked at two internet-enabled applications. The first was the web, and the second was email. We will proceed by looking at the third internet-enabled service, which is networking. Networking is another application of the internet. A simple computing network is formed when two or more computers are linked such that they can communicate and share resources. Now, different users from all over the world can have their computers networked, and this network is called the internet, which is the largest network in the world. And so, because devices can be networked, the computer users can communicate with one another. And so, people with similar interests can link up and share resources and do further networking. One very popular form of networking is social networking. And this is accomplished using different social networking apps. There are several of them. We have Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and several others. These different applications have several features that enable users chat in different formats, such as text-based format, audio-based format, and video-based formats. With these applications, people could network one-on-one as well as in groups. Usually, these apps need to be downloaded and installed on your computer so that you can get notification whenever new message is coming and also reply to them quickly. Other than apps, you can also have other forms of networking which can be accessed through the web using web browsers. And then, to be part of a network, you can follow them. You can also subscribe to their channel so that whenever there is new information in that network or group, you have access to this information. On the network, the different members can post information. They can respond to different information using text or emojis. You can also create groups. And so there are different activities that can be carried out in these different networking applications. For instance, you can tweet, share, add friends, like posts, chat, follow people, search, and then create news, and several other activities. And with all these, you can see how important these internet applications are to our daily lives. We've come to the end of this lesson, but before we leave, let's have a quick summary. First, we learned that the internet environment refers to the environment of internet-enabled services or applications. Next, we learned that some internet-enabled applications are the web, email, and networking. We also learned that the web is accessed using web browsers, and some examples of web browsers are Internet Explorer, UC Browser, Chrome, Mozilla, and so on. Going on, we learned that email services are provided by companies called email service providers. Some examples of email services are Gmail, Yahoo Mail, Proton Mail, and so on. Next, we learned that through networking, people of similar interest from all over the world are able to connect, as can be experienced through social networking apps. And finally, we learned that some examples of social networking apps are Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and so on. At this point, let's try out some exercises. Here's the first question. Which of these signs is a major part of an email address? A. Asterisk. B. Hash. C. @. D. ampersand. And the correct answer is C. The @. Let's try out one more. Which of the following is not a web browser? A. Internet Explorer. B. Web address. C. Google Chrome. D. Mozilla Firefox. And the correct answer is B. The web address is not an example of a web browser. Rather, it is a feature on a web browser. I believe you now have a better understanding of how these internet-enabled applications work. Till we meet in our next lesson, bye-bye.